Hey everybody, it is late at night and I am Norman. I own a watch that I'm pretty sure is actually haunted. Or cursed. Or it just hates me. What in the world am I talking about? Let me explain. So just in case you haven't seen my videos discussing this watch, I'm going to do a quick recap and explain to you why this watch just might be haunted. So I've always loved the turquoise bay and the blue bay, even though that was a lady's watch. At the time that I encountered both of those, I was in middle school, and I had one of these for a brief time. I may have just borrowed it from a friend, I think. It's been a long time. But I had been meaning to pick one of these up for quite a while. I have a lot of other swatches on the shelf, but this one was a lot more sought after than most swatches, so you pay a decent amount for them. At that point in time, I was finding cool looking swatches for about 50 bucks or so. These were always over $100 or so, so I just hadn't pulled the trigger yet. But then I found a listing for a turquoise bay that apparently was new old stock. So if that is true, this watch allegedly had been sitting in a box since the late 80s, early 90s, and of course it had a battery. So the battery had leaked all over in here, but it had only really damaged the battery hatch. So the seller took this watch to a swatch store and they cleaned all of that off, cleaned out the little bits of it that were inside the hatch there, and gave him a new battery, and it was working. So when I got this watch, I was super stoked. It looks absolutely amazing. I hadn't seen one of these in 20 years or something like that. And this turquoise really just is phenomenal. So cool. You really have to see it in person. But that crystal just kind of glows and really plays with the light and looks just brilliant. The whole watch is super cool. As cool as I remembered it. However, when I was wearing it, I noticed that the time was wrong. It had stopped working. So I put a new battery in there thinking maybe the battery that the swatch store put in here had been sitting back in overstock for quite a while and just wasn't a really good battery. And the watch started working again, put it on the wrist. A day or two later, it was out of time again and had stopped ticking. So it stopped again. And it seemed random, so I was thinking maybe it was some kind of a connection. So I tried bending the contact point inside here so it would sit a little bit more firmly against the battery. Put the watch back on my wrist, and that seemed to help. It went for a few days, and then it stopped again. So I kind of gave up on it, put it on the shelf. And then I noticed that on the shelf, it had been ticking for a week or so. So I set the time on it and put it on the shelf, and it kept perfect time for about 2 months or so. So it hadn't stopped at all and was just working great. So I picked it up, put it on my wrist. Within a couple hours it had stopped again. I tried tapping on it, shaking it a little bit, but it just wouldn't go. It was stopped. So I put it on the shelf. The next day it was working again. So this watch stops when I'm wearing it, but if I put it on the shelf, it works just fine. And it doesn't matter if I set it on the shelf this way or on its back. It just keeps on going. Unless it's on my wrist. Something very mysterious. And it's so sad because this watch is in perfect condition otherwise. So I'm going to have to get another turquoise bay at some point because I can't figure out what's going on with this one. I guess I could just Andy Warhol it and not even care if it's telling time at all. Just wear it as an accessory. It looks good enough to do that. But pretty sure this watch is haunted. So yeah, there you have it. Apparently my amazing turquoise bay either hates me, is cursed, or it's haunted. I think I need to reach out to Ghost Adventures. Thanks for watching.